you see him on the news.
CNN.com contributor Dean Obeidallah. So, Dean,
watch him at comedy clubs.
When I say Mecca, do you think of a holy place or an urban clothing line?
Read his articles, and you hear him on the radio. The Dean Obeidallah Show is on live right here on SiriusXM Progress, channel 127.
And welcome to the show, brothers and sisters of the resistance. October 31st, Halloween. We're live in the next 3 hours. I'm Dean Obeidallah. Hope to be your MBFF, your Muslim buddy. Not scary, just friendly. I'm on Twitter at Dean Obeidallah, Facebook.com/Dean of Radio. In either places, you can watch the monologue or you can watch the guests when we have them in studio. In fact, third hour, we have CNN's Julian Zelizer in studio for the whole hour. And you can watch it on Facebook.com/Dean of Radio or at Dean Obeidallah, or drop me an email, dean@deanofradio.com. I'm laughing because me and Matt were just talking about, if I was going to do anything for Halloween, I would dress up as Sebastian Gorka and just speak like Gorka. I'm Gorka here. I'm a day walker. Sebastian Gorka is clearly a vampire, folks. I'm not kidding. He's a Hungarian vampire who is a day walker. Somehow he has some kind of solution that he drinks or consumes to stay in the sunlight because he shouldn't. He is a vampire. I don't know about Matt claims he's a Nazi vampire. I know there are some ties to Hungarian Nazis, but he is a vampire. So, daily reminder, 6 days. 6 days, the most important election of our lives. Look, if you want a Congress that's going to stand up to Donald Trump's bigotry, his racism, his corruption, his white supremacy, very simple. Vote Democratic. And what's remarkable, I was in North Carolina Monday, met countless people who already voted. They are out there, they're voted. I urge them to vote twice. Kidding, but I did urge it, but to joke around with them. We have a lot of guests tonight. We're going to make time for calls in the beginning here. There want some other calls a little after that, but we have my commitment to having as many candidates as possible. So next hour, we have Sean Shaw, the Attorney General, Democratic Attorney General nominee in Florida, who, if he wins, and he's in great shape to win, will be the first African-American Attorney General in the history of the state of Florida. He'll be on next hour. The bottom of this hour, about 40 minutes after, we're going to be joined by Sanjay Patel, who I think will also make history if he wins his congressional race in Florida. And so what's going on? Some good news. Oprah Winfrey is going out to campaign for Stacey Abrams in Georgia. That's going to be such a tight race. Oprah Winfrey perhaps could be the thing that helps Stacey Abrams because she's not just fighting against Brian Kemp, the candidate. She's fighting against the Secretary of State who is suppressing the vote so he can win. This is like a third world country, George, where you have the guy who is the Secretary of State running for governor and disenfranchising and purging black voters while running. Off the charts. But obviously everything about Trump is fear. And the caravan and the late night comics. We didn't play them yesterday because I wanted to talk about the shooting. We couldn't do that. Here, though, Trevor Noah last night about Donald Trump sending more troops. And he makes a great point in the number of troops being sent and how that matches another number of troops we sent to another place. And this is all true. Here's clip number one.
It's a group of people who are saying to America, hey, we're in trouble. Can you help us? And Trump has responded with this.
The U.S. military said today it's sending more than 5,000 active duty troops to the Mexican border to deal with a caravan of Central Americans who intend to seek asylum here.
Those 5,200 troops actually outnumbering the roughly 4,000 migrants making up that caravan and nearly equaling the number of U.S. personnel fighting ISIS in Iraq.
Really? Trump is sending the same amount of troops to deal with asylum seekers as he sent to fight ISIS? Like, that's gotta be so weird for the troops. Be like one guy talking to another's like, I'm headed to Iraq to stop a violent death cult from destroying civilization. Where are you going? It's like, oh, I'm going to try convince a baby to crawl south. Yeah, just switch around. And you know what's even worse? Is that Trump is sending more troops than there are migrants, right? So the troops can basically play man-on-man defense, you know? He's like, okay, you get Juan, I'll get Jose. I'll take the old lady. Come on, abuela. Come on, abuela. Come on. Ah, she got through my legs. God damn it, abuela.
Donald Trump is literally sending as many troops as we sent to fight ISIS in his presidency as we're sending to the border of a caravan, which I keep telling people on this show so everybody knows the truth. The caravan is over about 1,000 miles away from the U.S. border. They are walking 15 to 20 miles a day. When will they arrive? Mid to late December, but Trump wants you to think they're coming tomorrow. That's how it works. That's Donald Trump fear-mongering. And here is Colbert, a quick joke on sending the troops as well. Clip number 2, please.
to combat one of the things he wants you to be afraid of. Trump has announced a plan to deploy 5,200 troops to the southern border. The Pentagon has a powerful name for this mission, Operation Faithful Patriot, which beat out their second choice, Operation Loyal Eagle Freedom Boner. Thank you.
So, some funny stuff there by Colbert. Now, I'm going to do a shorter monologue because we have so many guests tonight. I want to talk to people. I want to put something out there. Donald Trump, but let me tell you this way. The polling shows the top two issues among all Americans, not left or right, all Americans. Number one is healthcare. Close behind that, the economy and jobs. They're almost neck and neck. Immigration is third, but that skews way Republican. But for Americans across the board, it's the economy and it's healthcare. First on healthcare. That's become the issue. And the Republicans and Donald Trump have failed America on healthcare. Because Donald Trump, as you remember, and I don't need to play his stupid clips for you to hear it and remind you his exact words, Donald Trump promised everyone amazing healthcare. He promised literally healthcare for everyone and said, I don't care if some people are upset, we're going to do that. Said that. Everyone remembers that. He also said he would knock down prescription drug prices and the government would knock down costs for Medicare drug costs because we would have the government negotiate against the drug companies. None of that's happened. None of that. That was one of the big promises for people. They wanted better health care. Let me ask you, and I want to ask, this is what I want to ask the people personally, and you can even be a Republican, a Trumper, as long as you're going to be honest. I want to sincerely know people's honest response to this. Is your health care better today than it was 2 years ago? Has cost changed in any way? Are they just slightly up? Are they a lot up? Are your prescription drug costs, have they changed at all? That's one of the big issues because right now there are 4 million less Americans with insurance today than there was when Donald Trump took office because they got rid of the individual mandate, the ACA. So there's 4 million Americans out there who don't have insurance. That was their choice. But now they're no longer getting a free physical, so they're not doing preventive care. They're not, if they have no insurance, they go to the hospital. We pay for that. Instead of spreading it around all Americans, we pay for that. Whoever has insurance is paying for that. The second issue is the economy. And I really had this question for everyone. Donald Trump, again today, bragging the economy is great. He told, at the White House, told executives that if Democrats win Congress, you're going to all lose a lot of money and we're going to have no jobs. Literally saying crap like that. And he keeps saying the economy is great. And for some it is. If you're wealthy, there's no doubt it is a great time. And I'm sure there are others doing well. But are you doing better? And today was the end of the month. So the stock market for this month, just a little heads up here. And I know some people don't follow the market, some do. But here's the thing about the stock market. It is forward looking. It's always forward looking. It's not backwards looking. It's not like, hey, the stock price is going up because last quarter was great. No, its prices are based on the future. So they're saying what we think is going to happen in the future. What happened October? The entire market lost $2.5 trillion in market value. Now, that's on paper, but it's still something. Here's real world stuff. If you have an IRA or 401k or a stock portfolio, in October alone, the S&P 500 lost 6.2%. That is the worst one-month performance since 2015 by 0.1%. Just a little bit more, we went back to 2011. The Dow was down 4.3% this month, the biggest drop in years. 4.3% this month. And just in January, the Dow Jones was at 26,000, about 500. Now it closed today around 25,000. The market's supposed to keep going up, not recede by over 1,000 points. And here's the worst thing. If you own tech stocks, and they're on NASDAQ, that's where most of the tech stocks are, like Apple and Cisco and a bunch of the companies there, the NASDAQ in this month dropped 8.5%. When's the last time we saw that kind of drop? November 2008. When was that? That was the Great Recession. And these are all numbers right from CNBC. These aren't Democrat. These aren't Republican. These are real numbers. You can look at them. And why are they going down? A few reasons. One is interest rates are going up. That's part of it. But interest rates are going up because inflation is rising. And part of the reason inflation is rising because of the irresponsible GOP tax cut of adding $1.5 trillion to our deficit. That's part of it. Makes America less appetizing to invest in, but also in this big macroeconomic issue, there's more money out there and it's driving inflation up. That's what tax cuts do. We're not going to get into details of it, but here's a more troubling part. The third quarter earnings season that just ended for corporations was on track to be the worst since 2011. So I just want to be clear, too. I'm not rooting for the economy to fail to hurt Donald Trump. I've said that time, and I've written 2 articles attacking Bill Maher for saying that. That's not the way it should be. We're Americans. I want everyone to do well. I want to beat Donald Trump on the issues, not for an economy to do poorly, because it hurts everybody. It'll hurt all of us in different ways. You know, and I could be selfish. Less people will buy cars. Less people have Sirius XM. We'll have less subscribers. It hurts me. I mean, it's bad for all of us in all different ways. But Donald Trump, tomorrow the jobs report will come out. The first Friday of every month we get a jobs report. It'll probably be pretty good. Last month it went down a little bit. That was the top line, but top lines are deceiving. The real unemployment rate, this is the real one that the stocks market and the economists call the real unemployment rate, went up last month to 7.5%. We'll see if that comes down. The big thing is that Donald Trump talks about wages. Your wages have increased so much. And he pats himself on the back for saying the wage increase, and it just came out right before the show, year to date from September 1st to September 30th, from year to date all the way around, that wages rose 2.9% from September 2017 to September 2018, 2.9%. Now that is the biggest increase in several years. But here's the reality. Inflation has risen significantly. So what is the real, and this is the numbers of economists, this is not partisan, of economists, workers' wages in the last year have gone up on average 0.6%, not even 1%, 0.6%. So I ask you, and I want to answer this sincerely, this is not partisan. How are you doing? How are your family doing? You know, we've seen a spike in inflation. Gas prices are up 30 to 35% since Trump took office. If your wages are just slightly going up, you have a pay cut. You know, if your wages are flat, you clearly have a pay cut. And how are things for you? And I really want to know this. I'm sincere. And if you're a Trumper and you call, don't lie. I want to know the truth. And I really want to know from progressives too. And are Democrats in your districts or your state talking about the economy at all? Because it's hard to argue against a good economy when people think it's all going well. And in general, it is on paper. But the stock market is forward-looking. And I'm telling you, something is percolating. And experts predict now 2019 will be a decent year for growth. Not sure. 2020, they're saying a downturn. We're not sure. Things could change. But I will say this. The last GDP report, gross domestic product report, not this quarter, the quarter before, 4.2%. The one that we just got 2 weeks ago dropped to 3.5%. That's nearly a 20% drop in our GDP. And there's reasons why. There was an artificially inflated last GDP because of the tariffs. But still, something is afoot. And I'm not sure if people are if candidates are talking about it. If you're feeling it, and if you're not, you're not. That's fine. You want to tell me I don't like Trump. I'm voting against him for many other reasons. But economically, I'm doing fine. I'm doing better now than when Obama was there. That's a fine answer. I'm fine with that. Also, if you want to talk about any of the races going on, we are 6 days from the election. Polls, and Julian Zelizer will be in their third hour. We're going through a lot of the polls. I must tell you this. After Kavanaugh, there truly was a bump. And races where Democrats were leading slightly, their lead was gone. And where they were tight, the Democrats were down. That's gone now. We're back to where we were before Kavanaugh in most places. There's also numerous governor races that nobody is talking about, where if things break slightly well, right now, this is stunning. How many Democratic governors do you think there are in the nation? Of course, there are 50 states. How many Democratic governors do you think there are? Some of you are probably yelling at your radio. You might know the right answer. Did you guess 16? 16. That's how bad the shape we're in. We only have 16 Democratic governors in the entire country. After this election next week, we are going to pick up 4 or 5. We could. There are many margin of error races. Kansas, Ohio, Oklahoma is now at 4 points. That's margin of error. New Mexico we're up in. Nevada is in play now. Maine, Georgia, Florida, Michigan, Wisconsin. We have a chance to run the board on them. We can have, after election, it being 25-25. So everyone's focused on the Senate, and Trump will declare a victory lap. Who cares? Governors are so powerful. And coming up with the census and redistricting coming up in the decade, it'd never be a better time to have control of states where there's actually red states and blue governors. So let's take a break. Come back. I'm going to take your calls again because we have a guest at 40 minutes in. And then next hour at 7:40 we have a guest, but we're going to take calls in between there. 866-997-4748. What's going on with your economy? What's going on with the races in your state and your district? I really want to hear from people. We're going to focus on this from now to Election Day. Pep talks to get people out to vote. This is the number one thing. Election Day is Judgment Day. I've been saying it for a year. I could not mean it more. Let's take a break and come back and hear from you. Progressive values are the best of American values, and we need to keep fighting for them to save our country.
Don't go anywhere. This is the Dean Obadala Show on Sirius XM Progress 127.